guests. Oh, okay, would you stand up and introduce yourselves, please? Just so we'll all...
Hi, I'm Cheryl Barrasso.
Cheryl.
And I'm Frank.
Frank. And Becky.
My name is Ezekiel.
Okay. Well, I would like our members to interact with these people tonight and get to know what kinds of things they're growing and how they discovered San Diego Rare Fruit Grower Group. Welcome. I'm going to give you the vice chair report first. First, I want to say thank you to all the volunteers for the work party. Our next work party is going to be November 14th at Quail Botanical Gardens at about 8:30 in the morning until 1. We've got plenty of work to do over there. And also the volunteers I want to thank for the Home and Garden Show, and all of those names were listed in your newsletter, so you know who the hardworking people are here. And all of those assisting with the opportunity table, who provides the donations, the fruit, and the plants for our opportunity table and our tasting table. And I encourage you to wear your badges because you get a free ticket if you bring in a plant, a free raffle ticket. Can you hear me now? That's I don't have to show. Okay, let's see, where was I here? Oh yes, I want to thank the executive board. We only have a couple more months of our duty, and I want to thank all of the executive board for all the things that we've had to deal with and everything and all the time that we've put in. All the things you do. And our newsletter editor, I don't know whether John is here, but I've had some compliments on our newsletter, which I think is wonderful, and she's very pleasant to work with. Dick and Alice brought the chips in tonight, the guacamole that the two big pots of it over there was brought in by our speaker tonight, so that's a real treat. The next board meeting is going to be on November the 18th at Wednesday night at 6 p.m. in room 104, and you're all invited to attend. November meeting and the election night is Tuesday, November 24th at 7 p.m. in this room, and that is on a Tuesday, so I'd like you to be sure and mark that on your calendar. We won't be here on Wednesday night. And it will be in the next newsletter as well as it was in the last one. The December board meeting is Wednesday the 16th, and it'll be room 104. And then our December meeting is changed again because of the holiday. We have this room on Tuesday, December the 22nd. And it will be our annual potluck Christmas affair. And we will also have a gift exchange. So if you bring a gift, be sure to get a ticket, because then you can exchange the gifts when your ticket is drawn. And as far as the potluck goes, I'll have more details in the next newsletter about that. But it will be on a Tuesday night, the 22nd. Let's see here. Oh, David has authorized me to announce the committee members, the appointments that we had at about a month ago. And I'll just read those off for those of you who are here. And if anyone wants to look at the list, you're welcome to. These were the volunteer committee's appointments and some of the duties that they're to be responsible for. The membership committee is Anna Crone, Mark Velez, Eddie Price-Demar, and Ian Miller. They should staff the front table, maintain membership roster, enroll new members, call to renew if they're months late in their renewal, and we want them all to come back, of course. Obtain the badges, and Jack Skeels has made arrangements for badges that will be a little different than the ones we've had, but they are not very costly, and so everybody should be able to afford a badge. And also their duties are to collect the money for the enrollment and dues and so forth, and give that money to the treasurer who will keep record of that then. And then on the hospitality Committee, Mark Velez, Connie Rolfs, Kevin Fopp, Lori Cohen, and Oscar Butler. And they are kind of responsible, as so many of us have been, for the food, the supplies from the locker, the water, making the coffee, bringing food, cleaning up, and reorder requests. And there are many of you who've helped with that. Barry was our longtime volunteer for that, and so we will help orient you to all that. And a lot of you, I thank you for pitching in when we didn't have an actual person assigned to that. And let's see here. The Hospitality Committee, okay. This committee, oh, I think I read that. Let me sign with it. Oh no, this is different. The committee has specific roles for the hospitality, that the Hospitality Committee will appoint. Opportunity table organizer, the encourage labeling and your plans so that we know what they are. Some of them come in without a name on or any details about the plant, and some of us don't recognize them. Sign in what plant they brought and who brought it. And Joy arranged to have paper and pencil and everything.
But it's not here, I'm just looking for it now, I didn't see it because there's a couple unnamed.
Okay.
And it should have been in the storage material. Someone didn't put it on the table.
Did you look at the box underneath your table there? See what's in there?
But I'm not the opportunity table.
I know you're not. But someone else will pick up the ball and go with that one. And then we have the greeter. Mr. Song here is our greeter. And he's been doing that job very efficiently. And then we have a librarian, and I don't know if Oscar is here tonight, but I think he is working in a different shift now, so I think he's going to be able to make more of our meetings. Otherwise, we're going to request an assistant for him on the nights he's unable to come. Field trip committee, Jim Nigel. Marketing committee is Fang, Eugene Marley, Ian Miller, Jose Gallego, and June Anderson. And we are getting notices in local papers, advertisements, website, outreach, home and garden show, Cuyamaca College, Del Mar Fair, etc. This committee has specific roles that the marketing committee will appoint. Newsletter editor is Don's last name, Don Martin. Webmaster and outreach, home and garden show, Cuyamaca College, Del Mar, etc., and videographer. So that will all come under marketing as well. For philanthropy, we have David Jeffs, June Anderson, Jose Gallego, Barry Rosetko, Paul Phillips, Irene Krepak, Tom DeHotel, David Long, Leo Manuel, and these people will be talking about scholarships, protection and management of the funds, determining intents of the gifts and donations. Propagation, we have David Yetz, John Nigel, Gustavo Adolfo, and Tynan Wyatt, I think his last name is, I don't see him tonight. That's the Signwood Exchange, the rootstock, and group purchases. And the Signwood Exchange and the grafting classes are coming up in January and February, so they'll be busy. Okay, these were voted on and so forth. And I think that's all on that. Okay, then, oh, Joy, could we have your treasurer's report, please?
I'm bringing up a water bottle since this one's going to be so long. First of all, prelude, to answer your label question, do you know what these are being used for currently? Okay, these are labels, the ones that you peel and stick. So please don't take my green pen home with you. This is here. If you know the names of these, please write them down if you brought it in. And what stuff is that? 1 second, I forgot something on the table. Money. There are 28 people that have not renewed. And I'm going to say this as quickly as possible. Last name, comma, first name. Please listen for your name. Ashire, Lee. Alvarez, Barb. Archer, David. Belez, Mark. Barron, Candice. Bizalian, John. Clark, oh, they just paid me tonight. Cortez, Armando. Crofts, George. Elihu, Shannon. Fisher, Paul. Goldstock, Brent. Habetler, Frank. Hassel, Julian, Rudy. Coleman family. Lickbear, Gary and Ava. Marley, Eugene. Nealman, Etta. Moore's family. Orgovan, Frank. Pierce, Ben. Redecker, William. Red family, or Reed family. Reeder, Lawrence. Robinson, Charles. Schroeder, Charles. Schultz, Bob. Williams, Linda. Those are the people that I have as of today that are not paid up to date and therefore cannot vote in the election coming up.
Unless they're paid.
Unless they're gonna pay me before the election. So what date do they need to pay by so we can update?
By November meeting.
By the end of next meeting, if they're not paid up on membership?
Well, they should be able to come in, pay, and vote.
Okay, fine. All right, getting on to the treasurer's report, the short part. So far, for our revenue, we have raised $831 on membership for our local chapter membership, not the state. From the opportunity table plant sale, we have earned $1,369. As far as bills, people that have volunteered at the fairgrounds, we've reimbursed for parking, $55. Stationery, stamps, $178. Food, $225. Purchasing rootstock and other plant material, $410. Speaker fee, at least $600 because I was not given the books till the end of February. So January and February, I don't know about speaker fees. Membership advertisement website, $351. We spent $20 buying a new library book this year. And so the bills that we paid out this year is $1,839. The bank today, not including the check I just wrote for reimbursement of chips, is $5,077. Anything else?
What about Paul Thompson?
Paul Thompson gift. Could I?
Did it roll over?
It rolled over. It's in my notebook there. I didn't know what you were going to ask for it. I have the exact amount in my notebook. It's $40,000. It's $40,100 or $200, and it's rolled over. And I've spoken to the bank, and last time I told them just to roll it over. I'm going to go see them tomorrow, so I wanted to know: do I need to tell them to roll it over again or not?
No, you don't have to. Well, not at this time. It'll be for 6 months, right?
Right.
That's just over. Okay.
Okay, because they had offered putting in money markets accounts because those are going up in interest rates better than the CD. So that was the offer. All right, any questions? Thank you, I'm done.
And, so would you give us a written report of things?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Now, David wants me to remind you, our election for new board members will be new and old, I guess. Tuesday, November the 24th, which is our next meeting. And a reminder that the chapter and parent organization dues have to be paid prior to nominating anyone or being nominated for office. And let's see here. And I year and into this year, and we're trying to get them all together by the next meeting. I will have those, or before the next meeting, so that we will know who is legal for voting. So, and if you want to talk to me tonight, I can look some of that up for you, or you can call me at home, and my phone number is in the newsletter, and I'll be happy to check to see if when your dues are due, because we don't have a really good record of when the dues should be paid. And I have some of those records, so I'm hoping to get that all clarified before the next meeting. David Long has graciously assumed Rolf's duties as chair of the nominating committee. Rolf's mother passed away and he had to leave suddenly for Germany, so David is assuming this role. He will report the slate tonight. Am I talking into this? I'm not used to talking very well. Okay. David will report the slate and take nominations from the floor tonight. And in November at the meeting, we will also take nominations from the floor before our election on that night. We're hoping for capable nominees dedicated to our chapter and our parent organizations and the goals set out by our founders. Secretary Ian Miller will prepare the ballots. And I already told you that I have the CRFG ink list and the dates, so that we can know that you are up to speed on your our memberships. And David Long and Ian.
Well, Ian first, he's the secretary.
I'm not saying anything, I'm just here to write stuff down.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just sit somewhere.
David speaks Ian right. Oh, that's fine, that's fine.
Thank you all, welcome. I want to try to make this as short as possible because I do want to get to our guest speaker and have plenty of time so that we can go over what we're actually here for and that's to learn about the fruit that's here. Our nominating committee, I would like them to come forward. We have Keith Harold, Ron Haroff, Harazan, I can't pronounce your last name. Thank you. And then also we have Ed Hamilton. The five of us have spent quite a bit of time looking at potential nominations for our officers to carry us through the next year. And we do have a very highly qualified slate of officers that we're going to present to you. First, I just want to say that David Yates has declined to take on one of the officers' roles. He felt that it was best to give it to the two people that are here, and he will also serve the next year as the ex officio. I spoke to him last night, and we had a good discussion about it, and he was very happy with that, and I think we're all very happy with the people that we have. So please step forward, the people that the nominating committee has selected. For president, we have Tom Del Hotel. For vice president, Jim Neitzel. We have two very highly qualified people who are going to be running for secretary, so that's going to be up to the general membership to make that determination as they would of anybody who's called off the floor. That would be David Silverstein and Cielo. David, you please step up and just announce your name. And then the last person who is running again is Joy Bladicus as our treasurer.
Just one position, right? Positive, just one position?
That's it. How are you? Anyways, these are the people that the nominating committee have gone for. The only one that is contested at this point, as far as we are concerned, is between David Silverstein and Cielo. So that is going to be up to the general membership to determine these two. And now what I would like to ask is if there's anybody who feels that they are qualified and would like to run. I would like to discuss with June whether we're going to take nominations next month. Our SOPs say that we take nominations in November. It was verbally agreed to that we would take the nominations this month, last year, so that people who did want to go for a position could at least have time to get something in the newsletter. The nominating committee could look at their qualifications to make sure that they're ready to go. So with that being said, is there anybody who would like to be nominated for one of our offices? Don't raise your hands all at once, please.
Or you cannot, they can nominate.
You can also nominate somebody if you would like, but the person you're nominating needs to be here and they need to agree to it.
Darn.
Going once, going twice. This is our slate of candidates. Thank you very much. I'm very excited about the coming year. We have a very, very strong group of officers who are here to serve us. Thank you all.
While everybody's applauding, can we give a round of applause to all the committee people who give a
Now, we will be taking nominations as we are told to do in our SOP on the night of the election. So if any of you feel inclined or you know anybody that would like to run and you want to nominate them, be prepared for that night. Thank you very much on that. Now, a whole highlight of our night. I want to introduce our speaker for tonight, Julie Frinks. She's an Orange County Sheriff, an authority on the avocados, and look what she does. And she's also brought a bunch of guacamole too. So go ahead and sit back and enjoy Julie.
June, you should mention Julie's right-hand man there.
Oh, of course.
Paul.
Mr. Frank.
Paul is always right there.
Okay, well, yeah, I've been sick this week, so I'll see how well I do. So I'm get my water in. And here we are, and my prime thing to do is to answer questions, but I don't want it from you guys that way. I already have the questions that I want to answer. I am in command. The first question I got to ask tonight, I said, I only want to answer this once, and that was, how did I get into avocados? So I'll just go ahead and tell you, about 17 years ago, I was at a California Red Fruit Growers Board meeting, and there was a fellow there from the University of Riverside, and they were needing somebody that was willing to volunteer to take data on the new avocado varieties from the breeding program. And I thought, boy, does that sound like something I'd like to do. So I got a more reliable car, and I volunteered to do it. I've been, I kind of morphed into a different role. At first, I was an unpaid employee of UC Riverside, and I could just go out anytime and do anything. And I got a couple of grants. And then I sort of, well, the person that got me involved wasn't working for UC Riverside anymore. And I kind of morphed into an unpaid volunteer with all kinds of rules, except that I got to be curator of the avocado variety collection, which is what I wanted to do anyway after taking thousands of pages of data. But, so I am the curator of the avocado variety collection at the South Coast Research and Extension Center in Irvine, California. And where we picked these, most of them, on Friday, except there are a few that I had picked earlier and put in the refrigerator. They're the ones that look bad. Because I thought if I didn't, I wouldn't have them here to show you tonight. Okay, so that was one question. Another question is, oh, there we go. You see this list. When should I pick my avocados? When is their season? What's the best one? What tree should I plant? How do I keep my avocado tree healthy? And what is the best way to care for the fruit? Okay, so let's see if I can do that. All right. Well, one of the things you should know, if you want to know the answer to these questions, is you've got to know basic taxonomy of the avocado. And if you've heard me before, you've seen this dirty little chart come out plenty of times. So we have, pretend like this is a classic PowerPoint. I've done that. This is the animal kingdom in us. This is the avocado. So let's get down to the Lauraceae family. One thing about the Lauraceae family, we've got a pest coming. It's in Florida. It's the, excuse me, oh gosh, the ambrosia beetle, the laurel wilt disease. And it's getting a lot of the laurels, which means the myrtle family, or not the myrtle family. A lot of the myrtles are not myrtle in the myrtle family. A lot of the myrtles are in the Lauraceae family. And in the myrtle family, you find things like Suriname cherry, I think, things like that. It's all screwed up. Anyway, so it's the avocados in the Lauraceae family, along with the cinnamon, and not very many edible fruits. I don't think any, but the cinnamon, you get the bark. Okay, so its fancy name is Persea americana, and there are 3 races. Okay, so let's talk about avocado races. There are 3 races. One is the Guatemalan race, and a typical Guatemalan maybe would be this Hashimoto. It's got a rough, thick skin. In fact, this Hashimoto is so thick that if you want to know when it's ready, you take a toothpick and you stick it in there. And I don't like to touch things too much because, well, you know what, I'm not going to do it because I'll bet you this thing is ripe right now and the toothpick can go right in it. Hashimoto, typical Guatemalan avocado, which means it needs to be on the tree about 18 months. So at this little thing on the tree, there's a whole bunch of Hashimotos out like that. Plus, there were a ton of like this till we picked them all. Problem with the Hashimoto is that it gets ready in about 4 days. Well, see, nobody told me about these things 17 years ago, and I was supposed to learn about them from scratch. So I always picked Hashimotos, and then I waited for them. Oh, I have some here, but thank you. Yeah, this will, yeah, I'll double up on it. So they would get soft. I squeezed the living daylights out of these things. They would never get soft. And then they turned black, and I'd cut them open because, my gosh, it'd been 3 weeks, and they were always horrible inside, and I thought it was the worst avocado in the world. And somebody said, oh, Dr. Berg said, boy, those are nice avocados. Well, he knows avocados. So I found the toothpick test. Like I say, you take the toothpick, you stick it in the end. These things soften in about 4 days. But if you don't use them within the 3 or 4 days after that, so if somebody ends up taking this one home, if it's right, use it right away because, boy, they get nasty looking fast. Okay, but if you get them just right, they're quality avocado. Okay, so I was told to expect about 40, 45 people, and I saw 85 come through the door. So I'm going to get my helper here to pass out a typical Guatemalan avocado to as many people as you can. I guess you start in the front of the row. And maybe you could get 10 Neitzel to help or something like that. Because I've got another box over here. Here's a couple. Yeah, those, just the black ones there. That one and that one. Yeah. So the reason I'm giving you these is rather than giving you a piece of paper that says this is what Guatemalan avocado is, I want you to know. And it's very important that you know, because some people have bought this holiday avocado tree and they tell me it's awful, and I say, well, when did you pick it? And they say, well, in June. How come you picked it in June? Well, it was bigger than the ones in the store, you know, but it's only, you know, it needs another 6 months on that tree. Now, if there are some people that don't get one of these nimlios, which is a very typical Guatemalan avocado, it came up from Guatemala. Oh wait, no, those were to be passed out. No, just the Guatemalans. But
Give it back. Come on, give it back now.
okay, that's it. So a lot of people probably don't get it because, like I said, I planned for about 45 people. So, but if you don't, maybe we can give you some of these. Is there somebody back there that didn't get one? Oh, goodness sakes. Well, I've got some for you. This is hand somebody one of these reeds. That's a typical Guatemalan. Somebody gets that one. They didn't get it. The reed is a wonderful Guatemalan avocado. I don't like to pick it before September, although this year they were very early. So they started to be ready in July. But one thing I like about the reed is that it's a narrow tree. So here's the thing. What is the best one? What one should I plant? So let's say you have a very narrow space. You live in this nice little house with a front yard about as big as 2 of these tables. But you want an avocado? Plant a reed, because a reed is a narrow tree. It'll get as tall as you let it. I've got a picture of a reed over here. After the meeting, I'd like you to look at my pictures so that you can see it's a tall, narrow tree. We snip ours off so that they stay very manageable. But the reed's a very nice tree. Another nice Guatemalan is the holiday. The holiday is, well, they can't be very large. Like this one's very large. The tree is small. So if your neighbor, if you have a crabby neighbor that says, I'm going to report you to the authorities because you're ruining my view, plant a holiday. A very nice fruit. And I'd like my helpers here to give these to somebody that doesn't have a Guatemalan avocado, because they deserve it.
Are the Guatemalans mainly the round body kind of
Okay.
like the reed?
The Guatemalans can be long and skinny, they can be black, they can be green. Their big thing is they have a thick skin. And like this Linda, it is a thick skinned avocado. And here, I'll put some others here. I don't know if my helpers can just go ahead and pass these to somebody here. Because these are all Guatemalans. Some of them aren't going to be so good. This one's been in the refrigerator, might not be good, but you know, Paul, if you see anybody back there that looks like they're starving for Guatemalan avocado, here's a bunch of it. Yeah. So you'll get all, they're all different kinds, and they will vary in how good they are. The holiday gets picked in September after a year and a half on the tree, and it's a different looking tree. I've got pictures of it over here with its narrow, curved leaves. So, okay, now, before I leave Guatemalans, I got to tell you this because I'm excited about it. I wanted one good example, and it's a good thing I did it.
Hello.
This avocado is one that I have nicknamed Party Time. And sometimes I get into trouble because they do not want me to name the avocados. But it was a PT37. Party Time is such a nice one. And somebody's got to get it. I hope it's good inside. I don't know. Here, you want this one? Okay, here's another one. Okay, now, no, I'll clean this table off here. Okay, so that's Guatemalan. Now, the other one is Mexican. Now, Mexicans don't winter over. Somebody said, what is the one that they use in Phoenix? It's a Mexican avocado. They come green, they come black, they have big seeds, they have small seeds. My favorite one is the Stewart, okay? So I've got Mexican avocados. They didn't keep very well. They were picked Friday, so I want my helpers to give everybody a Mexican avocado. It'll be a little easier, except that, I don't know. And if it's too messy, I have some plastic bags here. So the Mexican avocados, now the Mexican avocado, think about mushrooms for a minute. Would you eat every mushroom you found? No. Because some are really good and some will kill you. Okay, so now I'm not saying that's true about avocados, but it's true about avocado leaves. And the Mexican avocado leaves smell like anise. And if you want to pass this around, if you crunch them in your hand, you can tell a Mexican avocado tree. I like to tell the story about the Los Angeles Times, who they had a food article where they were talking about how to have a really good roast. You took your roast beef, you wrapped it in avocado leaves, and you baked it, and it was just delicious. Oh my God. And I wrote them a letter, and I said, if they know it's Mexican avocado leaves, okay. But if it's Guatemalan leaves, Guatemalan avocado leaf will cause a deer to abort her young, or a goat. It will cause horrible sickness in animals, and they're toxic. And they ground the seeds of the Guatemalan avocado fruit for rat poison. There's a lot of toxicity. But the Mexican avocados, well, of course they didn't print my article, so I don't know they died. But there's one more. There's the West Indian avocado. The West Indian race, okay, I've got Guatemalan, Mexican, this is West Indian. West Indian are the ones that grow in the tropics. They get humongous, and sometimes they have a red color like this. This is not a West Indian, but it has that color. So they'll get red, they'll get black, they'll be green. They have smooth skins, but they get big. So, but they're salt tolerant. So now they're very interested in getting West Indian varieties that will put up with cold, because the West Indians are the most cold sensitive. But they will be the most tolerant of salts. So they're doing what they can, trying to get West Indian genetics that will be rootstocks that won't die of the first sign of chill.
Is that what a Florida is?
Yes, they're West Indian, and there's a whole bunch of varieties in the West Indian race, as there are in all the other races. And they vary, but they're generally smooth, they're generally big. But now I'm going to talk about crosses. Hass avocado is a cross. Hass avocado, which I had one here, is about 85% Guatemalan and 15% Mexican. Fuerte is just the opposite. Well, the reason it's important for you to know that if you have a tree or want a tree is because you're going to be picking your fuertes before you pick your Hass, because it is, I'm going to not even look, it'll take me all night. Anyway, the Hass takes about a year on the tree. The Mexican in it speeds it up, so it doesn't take a year and a half like the Guatemalans, like the Nimleos you have. The Mexicans only take 6 or 8 months, so that brings those crosses up. Now we still have some late crosses. I've got a box of Wens. I'd like to have you pass those out, if you will. And if anyone didn't get any Mexican avocados, these are pretty soft. But if after my Song and Dance Act, if anybody wants to come up and get one of these Mexicans to take home, please do that. So now, these are Gwens. And we start picking these in March, so they're end crop. But, okay, so now we had some funny things happen out in the field. I had some that were not behaving themselves. The queen, now this is a little teeny queen. They get really, really big. And this is a little teeny daily 11. They get really, really big. And this is another daily 11. And these things were not following the rules because I thought they were Guatemalan because it looks like they have thick, rough skin. And they're supposed to be ripe, ready to pick in September. Labor Day, I think. Labor Day when I think Guatemalan. But by Labor Day, they were gone. And for the fair, they were just about right for the Orange County Fair in July. Well, Dr. Clegg was doing some he's a geneticist, and he was doing some genetic testing on avocados. And it's an interesting fruit to do that genetic testing with because it does have 3 very distinct varieties. And he found that the daily 11 had, and I'm guessing at this, but I looked at his chart, looked at like about 7% West Indian. So I'm thinking that what's going to happen is we're going to find that in some of our varieties we have a little West Indian influence that we didn't know we had. And I would guess that these big guys, because they get really big, they get that bigger than a lot of our Guatemalans, but they come on a little earlier. I guess they're going to find a little bit of West Indian we didn't know about. Now, after the meeting, any of you that didn't get 3 avocados, if you didn't get a Niblio or a Gwen or a Mexicola, come on up and I'll see that until we run out, that you get something of those across a Mexican and a Guatemalan. Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
On these, how are they rating as far as the fat content and the flavor content?
Okay. Guatemalans have the most oil, okay? Because they are on the tree a year and a half. They have a chance to really develop good oils. Also on your Niblio, do that toothpick test. And start as soon as you get home. And if there's any resistance, wait, and as soon as it's ready, the sooner you consume it, the better. And I hope they'll be good inside. They should, but no promises. Okay, when should I pick my avocado? That's why you need to know the taxonomy. What is the best one? What should I plant? I told you that too. If you want tall, narrow, short, wide, if you want spring, you want fall. I grafted for a friend of mine not very long ago, grafted in a spring tree and a fall tree. So he has, I think since his name was Jim with a last name started with B, I put JB as one of his spring trees, and Charwell because those are 2 of my very favorites. And for fall, I think I put a reed and a Helen or something like that. So Do you want spring? Do you want fall? Do you want a little each? Do you want all year round? That's the one that you should plant. How do I keep my tree healthy? Well, if you have clay soil, it's hard because they don't like clay. But no matter what, clay or whatever, plant on a mound. Plant on a mound, they're going to settle. You don't want an avocado in a hole that goes down. So plant on a mound. The big killer of avocados is root rot. And a lot of you know that already, I'm sure. They want lots of water, jungle tree. We were at, I think it was La Habra Heights Avocado Festival. Somebody said, I get all these flowers. My tree never has any fruit. I said, how often do you water? He says, well, I don't water it. Well, okay. You're not going to get any fruit. Farmers, I think, have found that if they cut the water back, say 30%, they'll get half the crop. So they like water, but they don't want to sit in it. It has to drift through. You can just practically watch those little cream-colored roots turn black when they're in water. Very long. They need the oxygen. Yes?
What about in pots?
In pots, avocados are good in pots for about 2 to 3 years, and then keep them much longer than that, and you can be pretty sure they'll just die. Because they have surface roots, and they like to go out, and they like to go up. And if you scrape away all the leaf mulch, you'll find these little cream-colored roots. So you need to leave every leaf on the top. You know, like at Disneyland, they have an avocado tree in California Adventure. Poor thing, it's not doing well at all. And I've told them, which I know they appreciate. And the reason is their floor under their tree is cleaner than this floor. I mean, you know how they are at Disneyland. A leaf doesn't fall to the ground before somebody catches it. And that poor thing, it just, you know, it just had the leaves were all burned back, and, you know, it was, they don't like hot, hard soil under the canopy, because these things need those little tender roots that are feeder roots and are right up at the surface. Not too hot, not too cold, well fed. Don't pour fertilizer on them. Give them a lot of fertilizer, but very, very dilute often. But a lot of leaf mulch, and keep them, or start with them on a mound. And then, of course, once in a while, I'll find a healthy avocado that's growing in an alley with concrete all over the place, and I think, oh, you know. But generally speaking, that was what they need. Yes?
Do you need to have 2 trees in order to have 3?
Okay, we get into flowers. How'd you like that? Just like that, we got into flowers. Okay, there are 2 types of avocado. There are the A flowering type and the B flowering type. The avocado flower is considered to be a perfect flower, which I don't know why, but they're female first, and then they close and turn and become male, and that's perfect. Okay, I guess if you're a plant. Now, the A flower type, female in the morning, closes male the following afternoon. The B flower type, female in the afternoon, closes, opens the next morning. Now that's as a male, always female first. And that's under perfect conditions with warm nights. Now what happens, a lot of people have say a fuerte at the beach, and a fuerte is a bee flower type. And it can be a very good pollinator. We had one in the yard for a while, and it had flowers, long flowering season, great pollinator. But we have cool nights at the beach. The female flowers never bothered to open. You know, it was male, and then it fizzled at the later part of the day because it wasn't warm enough to stimulate the female flowers part to open. So if you're near the beach, a lot of the bee flower types aren't so good. But then I have Charwell, it's a bee flower type, does really well. Well, it has 2 or 3 years. It had some years when it didn't either. Yes?
Is the Mexicola a good pollinator?
The Mexicola probably isn't the world's best because I think it's an A flower type. It depends, you know what? It depends on what you're trying to pollinate. If you have Charwell, which is B, Mexicola would work fine because it's A, although it's quite early. So if you have a tree, your reed is an A flower type. You would do better to have maybe a Charwell avocado if you could get a hold of one, because that would be a better pollinator. What happens is they will do some self-pollinating. So if you have an avocado tree here with nothing around it for miles, it probably will have some avocados. And it'll depend a little on what one it is. The Stewart, at least my Stewart, always has some female and male flowers at the same time. So they tend to self-pollinate. Now the ones that really hold on the tree longer are usually cross-pollinated from another tree.
But Stewart is a good pollinator then?
Yeah, it's probably,
I mean, for other trees, for reed
Yeah,
and
yeah.
moss and finger.
Reed.
Stewart's one variety, Julie.
Pardon me? What?
Stewart is an ARV type.
Well, I thought it was a B, and somebody told me it was an A, so I started studying it, and the person that said it was opposite of me was somebody like Dr. Ben, whatever, I think his name from Israel, or Dr. Berg, was somebody who is a lot more important in the avocado business than I am. But it was opposite, so I just call it AB because mine is, and the ones at the field seem like they're both. So it was probably the hardest to to put it in the slot of any that I know. But, so it probably is a good pollinator. It's hard for me to know because I'm out there with 150 varieties, so I don't know which ones are doing the job. However, I do have a reed in my front yard that always has had since it was about 4 years old. A lot of fruit. And it flowers after everything else. So there's not an avocado flower anywhere around. And that reed, you're starting to see why I like reed. And that reed produces very, very nicely. This year, I had huge fruit on it. And for next year, I have all kinds of small ones on it right now. The only thing is, of course, the skunks and the possums and the rats have found the tree too. So where do I go from here?
Are any of these,
Yes.
like every other year, alternate,
Alternate bearing. Avocados are so alternate bearing. Okay, so you have a fuerte, you have a good crop, and you think it's a great fruit. Then the next year, you might not get any. Or Hass will do the same thing. Produce 1 year, not produce another year. We have one out there that Nabal. Our Nabals have had a good year, and then they've taken 5 years off. So I got a Nabal because I like it so well, but I'm not sure. If I only have room for one, it would be Nabal because it's just, to me, it's too spotty as a producer. And I've heard somebody from San Diego, they might be in this room, I think it was some time ago, said their Nabal produced very, very well all the time. So I don't know, that's just my experience. Flowers. Okay. Female flower, prominent style. Anthers are back against the sepals, and then that will fizzle out. It could be pollinated or not when we get into the male stage, which is a fizzled old style there. And the anthers come up and they have little valves in there that dehisce pollen. And the nectaries attract the bees, and the more bees you have, the better. Some people think wind will do it, and I'm sure it helps. But there was a study that I read that was done in Israel, and they had 2 caged trees. And one they had a beehive, and one they had no bees. And one had something like 300 avocados, and the other had 2 or 3. So it makes a difference. Of course, if it's caged, you don't get that much breeze, you don't get the wild bugs, I'm sure a lot. Oh, I can tell you another bee story. Right up here, I have a bunch of cukes. Now, a cuke is a fruit that has been pollinated, but the pollen tube, this is what I have heard from one of the farm advisors, the pollen tube, they think, isn't quite, it's not working quite right. Might be crooked, I don't know what. So the thing starts to build a fruit, but it doesn't make a seed. So you get these seedless avocados. Now, I've only seen one on a Hass in my life, but Fuertes, if you have a Fuerte, you've seen cukes. And the Fuerte does a lot of cukes, and they're about maybe the size of a finger, and they taste the same, but they don't have a seed in them. Now, the queen, and like I said, this is a teeny-weeny queen. Okay. The queen is, half the tree is cukes. The great big deli pickle cukes. And there, I have a picture over here of them. But great big cukes on the queen. And so they will do that. So that's a cuke. Well, okay, so this lady was telling me, blah, blah, it's on the garden festival. I have a tree that only has cukes. Okay, so I said, can I get some budwood from you? So I got some budwood, I grafted it into our breeding field collection, and it did very well. And she came up to me the next year and she said, you know that tree that I said had only cukes? Well, a beehive came and there was a beehive right by the tree, and this year we had big round fruits. So I thought, oh, well, so much for my all cuke tree, because of course it's in a collection with a whole bunch of other trees. So I wanted to move it to the variety collection. I had it tested. It came out positive for sun blotch, and you know what that is. Yeah. No. Anyway, nasty disease, so they had to take it out, plus all the trees around it. And I got into big trouble. And you know, you're never supposed to bring varieties in unless they've been indexed. Well, I knew they weren't supposed to go into the collection, that's why I asked for them to be indexed. But I didn't, had never been told that you had to index them to put them in this field of when I had them. So anyway, I learned my lesson on that. So that's a little story about bees and avocado flowers. Okay, now, everything I've passed out, I don't have enough for everybody. This is a little primer that tells a lot about avocados. But on the back, I just noticed tonight, it says Guatemalan, bloom spring, ripens spring, summer of following year. That is not right. But if you'll draw an X through that and say, this is not right, they have to be 18 months on the tree, and one per family, because I don't have nearly enough.
Pardon me? Would you give me a little idea, because I haven't heard 12 hours.
You should really give it to the webmaster and have them put it on the website.
Oh, watering, well, they measure the soil, and then they water depending on the wetness of the soil. At home, I think, oh, it looks really dry, we better water. That's about how it goes, twice a week or so. But in the field, they use spray emitters, so that they don't use drip irrigation at all. And they'll leave them on about 5 hours once a week usually, but it will depend a lot on how dry the soil is, so forth.
So if it's too dry, that might be the reason I have avocados. I have 12 trees, and
yeah.
I have no avocados this year, and I put bees in my hive, and I'm doing my grow, because that is really important. When you put the bee hive here, you get all kinds of avocados. When you move it over here, you get all kinds of avocados. This year I got bees, but no avocados.
Water is very important, I can tell you that.
That could be a reason for not putting any avocados.
Maybe they had a lot last year, we're taking a year off, I don't know.
Well, you know our water restrictions, so that makes.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Okay, I don't have a clue how long I'm supposed to be up here.
As long as you want.
You can still talk.
Okay, let's see if I have another question to answer. Okay, oh, all right. How do I keep my avocado tree healthy? Oh, we did that. What's the best way to care for the fruit? Okay, just a sec. What's the best way to care for fruit? Don't put it in a bag.
Oh,
No, leave it out there where you can see it. And if you get them at the store, I'd get them hard because if they're soft, probably 14 people before you squeeze them. Because people cannot walk by an avocado and not squeeze it. It's against human nature. So one of the guys I worked with, he's a toothpick and everything. He doesn't believe in squeezing them. But I squeeze them like this. And I want them right there where I can see where they are. Because I don't want them in a bag and then say, oh, whatever happened to those Nimlio avocados I brought home? Oh, ugh. And that's what happens. They put them in a bag, and I've given them to people, and they say, oh, I forgot, I got the bag out, and they were all bad. Put them where you can see them. And then give them a good squeeze every day, unless, well, he's not here, so he won't know I said that. You do a good squeeze every day. I like to squeeze them so I can feel at the bottom and the top. Because I want them to go, I want to feel that I'm going beyond just under the skin to where there's really avocado meat. And then if they're ready, they go in the refrigerator now.
do they ripen from the top to the bottom? Because I've had some that were well ripened at the top and then hard.
Usually it's the other way. Usually they're soft at the bottom and harder at the top. So yeah, that's a big problem with these long skinny things. We have an Avis out there, big avocado. And it ripens again. I think it's got a little West Indian in it because it ripens in the middle of summer. Great big thing. And you're going to have a nice half an avocado. Either the top is wonderful and the bottom is rotten, or the bottom is wonderful and the top is a little too hard. So yeah, that's the problem with the long ones, is they're just uneven. Yes?
Do you have a time to just touch on how you graft? I can graft, and I can't get avocado graft.
Okay. I found, when I went into my grafting bucket today, I found some budwood. Okay, I don't know what it is, but one of them had been wrapped with paraffin. Okay, so these, keep in mind, these, I don't even know what they are, but I wrapped the one, just down up the rows. Okay, so my friend Denny works with Paul and me, and he also runs the booth at the Green Sea, and we sell all kinds of plants there. Okay, so we have one tree out at the field. It's called horseum, and I think there's a picture of it over here. Horseum is I don't have one because it's just not in season. It just didn't seem like a worthwhile to pick one, so I don't think I have one here. But a horseum is big and it's impressive and it's ready in spring. So that makes me think it might have a little West Indian in it, because otherwise it's like Guatemalan. It doesn't look like it has any Mexican in it. And horseum is ready in April, which is when we have the green seed. If I take cherimoyas to the green seed, and I took a bunch of nice grafted cherimoyas, they don't sell because they look horrible in April. But the horseum avocado looks good. So we figure if we have enough of those trees, we can sell them, because people see bigger than average fruit and they might want to buy a tree. So I told Denny that I would pick a bunch of horseum wood and graft it up, so hopefully we can sell some fruit. Okay, so what do I do? You all know parafilm, don't you? Yeah, sure. Okay, so I cut my parafilm. I have just the regular, oh, where is it? Looks really good, huh? So this is the parafilm that I usually use. I slit it so it's in thirds, and, okay, glasses. Can't get along. That's the most important grafting tool is the glasses. So I would wrap the budwood. Now the reason I had him pass budwood around is so you can see what budwood looks like. It has to have a lot of buds, and immediately after you pick it, you take all the leaves off, just immediately, because the leaves will desiccate the wood, and moisture is very, very important. So, wrap it, have nice sterile equipment, and then I have some double parafilm, which somebody gave me the 3-inch roll, and that works really well. I double it and cut it, and I can get a whole bunch of these little double pieces fast. Then I find where it matches, like that, and put the thing together so that it won't know that what happened to it. And hopefully people realize that what you're doing when you graft is not woodwork, it's plumbing. Because you want your xylem and your phloem to get going and get the, so that's about it. And I'll do a couple more before the night's over.
Where do you get it from?
What?
Where do you get it?
Well, this parafilm I think we got off over the internet. Parafilm, and if you want to see what it looks like. Here's the. Okay, so if you want to grab something larger than just a seedling. Oh, by the way, I brought the seeds for the guacamole. So if anybody wants to plant seeds in a paper cup or a gallon thing like this, there's seeds that you can, there's a ton of seeds back there. Okay, so important is to mark on what you, Horsham, what's the date? 10? 28, I should know that, over 9. And obviously, this one was something else that didn't take. So they don't always take, but out of a bunch, you know, it's pretty easy and you'll get some take. And then I like this Presto marker to write on anything. Well, you can see I write on the avocados all the time. Handiest little pen I've ever had. Yes. I do it anytime, but I live at the beach, so it might be that if you live where it gets really hot, you would really want it to be protected. Now the big ones, I a lot of times we'll bring a branch and show you how I do the big ones, but I didn't this time because you can see we had all kinds of stuff. So what we do is we take the top of the tree that's been just cut, and it can be this big, this big, this big. I've used quite small actually, and we cut the wood so that it's looks like it wasn't cut on the 1/3 and the other thirds, you know, so it's got a point. And then we slice the wood and then slip that in in one side. So it really helps if the wood is slipping well. And it was last week, surprisingly enough, so we did some. And then we wrap it, and then we put tar on it, and then we put white paint on it, and then we staple old stock annual reports around it. Really good. Let's see. This one was to our shareholders. I don't know what it was. But anyway, that's what we do with our old annual reports.
What Julie's describing there is called a LARP graph. I know if you have computers, you go and Google LARP grafting.
And it's also called a crown graft. If it can be the crown bark graft. And yeah, you could probably Google it and find it easily explained. Yes.
Julie?
Oh, I got questions all over here.
When-
1, 2, 3. Yeah, what? What happens, why is the leaf getting brown? It could be that it's just been on the plant for too long and it's getting ready to be at the end of its life, or it could be salts in the soil. So there are different reasons for it. Number 2.
Okay, thank you. On this, I see that it is wrapped clear down into where you have this, into this, the scion, into the cambium layer of the cut-off branch. Do you have that clean on the underside?
Oh, it's clean. There's no.
I mean, what I'm saying is it's not wrapped with the wax
The parafilm is not stuck in.
touching the cambium layer.
No, it's been cut off.
Okay.
It's been cut off, because you want those cambium layers to match.
Yes, of
And
course.
you want them to grow, okay, because some lady told me one time, she said, I did exactly what you told me, and I glued them together, and they were just perfect, and they all died. Well, plumbing, glue, you don't plug up the xylem and the phloem, you want it to operate. So I had to tell her, you don't glue them together, you put them together and then wrap them, hopefully they won't know what happened to them, and they'll go ahead and make a graft union. Now, there was a third question. Yes?
For the guacamole you brought tonight, what varieties of avocado did you use?
The guacamole tonight had, there was, I think, 1 lamb, there were 2 daily 11s, there was, there were lots of different varieties. There were some of these that have numbers on them.
Okay.
There were a ton of different varieties, but I'll tell you this. Since I had a cold, I washed my hands about 40 times getting the avocados ready, and he made the guacamole because he's healthy. And this is the way he makes it. This is the way he makes it. He takes a pot full of avocados, and he mushes them up with potato squisher, and he takes 4 ingredients: avocados, garlic salt, salt, and mild picante salsa sauce. Any salsa will work. And then he just munches it all up, and that's it. So if you like it, you've got the recipe. Yes?
What's the best variety for cold weather?
The best variety for cold weather is the Mexican, something in the Mexican race. Now there are Mexicola Grandes, which used to be called 311, and I've got one up here. It's a funny little thing, got a little point on it. Are you from cold weather?
It's already 40 in our house.
Yeah. Do you get frost?
Yeah, oh yeah, 19 degrees.
Well, I don't know, can you raise any, I think maybe apples? You might not, but one lady had heard about the Mexicola Grande, and she said, my husband and I want a Mexicola Grande. And I said, well, are you sure? Because there are better varieties out there. And she said, oh, he read about it and he really wants one. So it was just at the time, like right now, when they're plentiful. So I went out to the field and I just, went like this, because nobody wants them. They just go to the ground mostly, except you'll probably love yours. But anyway, so I got in a bag and then because the reed trees are close by, I stuck a reed in there too. And I gave it to him a few days later. And then I started getting calls. She said, oh, those Mexico Grandes are so good. We had it in salad today. Oh, you gave us 34, and we had them in sandwiches, like this Mexico Grandes. And then about the 8th day, or maybe, to soften the normal avocado takes 7 to 10 days, like the common cold. But anyway, so it was maybe 8, 9 days. She called me. She said, we opened up that reed. She says, those Mexico Grandes really weren't very good. Yeah, it depends on what you have to.
Wonderful.
It depends on what you have to compare them with. Yes. Oh, okay. You, then you. Yes.
Okay. Can you talk about any of the avocados that have edible skins like bacon?
Well, I mentioned that the Mexican avocados, you could, I could just go and crunch this and eat it skin and all, except it's got a little mold on this side, so not to pull up. But yeah, you could eat it skin and all, or you could just slice them up and put them in a sandwich with the skin, or you could pretend like it's seaweed and make California rolls. This one, toxic, wouldn't do it. Besides, who wants to eat these? Although I do notice the rats, the skunks, and they eat, and the rats,
Raccoons?
the raccoons, they'll eat through, but they'll usually leave the skins, and once they get in there, they're not that young.
Are any others sweet like the bacon is?
Well, the West Indians tend to be less oil and more sweet. So if you have grown up in the Philippines, say, and you like to make milkshakes with your avocados and put sugar on them, you might, well, okay, my friend Danny, one thing okay, I've got two more quick. He says, he works in a hospital, and he said that he takes avocados in and he gets different feedback. One of the Philippine people that he works with said, I just don't like this one. It's just too oily and greasy. She was raised on the West Indians and likes them. And most people, oh, another story I have before I get back to the 3 people there. Our corner grocery store had some avocados about 5, 6 years ago called diet avocados, and they were big and different. And I knew they were West Indians, and they said Florida avocados, low calorie, good diet avocados. So I bought one, and I thought it was horrible. And about a month or 2 later, I went back, and they had a whole bunch of reeds. And I said, oh, great, thank you for having reeds. These are perfect, they look great. They lost money on them. They wouldn't have lost money if they had me yelling with a megaphone in front of the store that they were California grown and that they were not diet and that they were not from Florida, but they were from California and they were excellent California grown avocados. But no, they didn't ask me. So they lost money because they weren't informed. So I have 3 questions. One was you.
What's the best way to guard against the avocado root rot?
The best way to guard against the avocado root rot, Phytophthora cinnamomum, which is a killer, is to not let your avocado sit in wet soil, but have it on the mound so the water can sift through, and not having the little critter that is a fungus that causes it in the first place. So if it's in your soil, if one has died in your soil, it's hard to get another one to live. Now they have worked with root stocks that are supposedly not susceptible, and they work like crazy with that. So they're trying to get better rootstocks, but then of course you have to double graft your trees to have clonals to do that. And it's not a sure thing. But the best thing is to not move, not bring a tree from a place where they've all died of that. And another thing that is good is when any stick or any leaf falls down under the avocado tree, leave it there, because the little fungal thing that breaks down, and my friend the chemist could tell me so much better, or could tell you better than I can. It's a several step process, I guess, where whatever breaks down the little wood pieces in the soil and turns them into good compost also is the enemy of the cell wall of the Phytophthora. So you want all the little wood pieces and all the leaves, and you want it on them out, and you want the water to sift through. I had a question here.
Do you have a bacon specimen, and where does bacon come from?
Okay, we did have 5 bacon trees in the collection. We've narrowed it down to 2 now. Bacon came from Jim Bacon. Jim Bacon, I don't know the exact city. I've got it all down someplace, but I don't know. It might even be on the...
Wayne Park.
Wayne Park? Okay, Wayne Park, they told me. It's not my favorite because it's a lot more Mexican than Guatemalan. Not 100% Mexican, but a lot more Mexican than avocado or than Guatemalan, and it has a shorter and a thin. Has a thin skin. Hey, here again, when they start doing real genetic tests, who knows what else they might find? But it breaks down quickly, and that's my problem with bacon.
How long should a bacon be on the tree?
A bacon is usually picked pretty early. You can tell if they start breaking down, they get brown on the bottom. But I'd start picking them January, February, I think. That may be too soon. What does it say in that handout? Does it say?
We pick ours starting in November because we get so many.
Oh, see, yeah, so you're picking yours about like some people pick their Fuertes. And up there, I don't like Fuertes before February. I don't like Pinkertons. I've had good Pinkertons in January, but I bought them from the store in November, and they were rubbery and they were always rubbery. So, yes? Oh, okay.
Well, I
Yes.
think it's a giant tree in Glover, Miami, Arizona. Have you heard of it?
I think
It's
I
very
have.
cold over there.
Yes, it's the Aravipa. The Aravipa, it's, I don't know what the fruit is like. We've got budwood growing. It just grows like crazy. But we have had no fruit, so we don't know if it's any good or not. But it is very cold hardy, so we're watching it. Yes.
Recently I seen the door avocado in the nursery. Are they good?
Okay, so the nurseries will tell you, oh, we have dwarf avocados, and then I've read these things that drive me bats. Oh, you can put it in your patio in a pot. Well, yeah, they want to sell an $80 avocado, and then when you find out 8 years later it's dead because they don't do well in a pot, well, who cares? They've got their $80. So avocados, there are trees that are small, like I mentioned before. The holiday, if you had a garden place about the size of this up at the stage area, you could put a few holidays on it. They go together like a hedge as they got older. With a 35-year-old never pruned holiday, it's not a really big tree, but it's not going to grow in a pot of fruit. It might for a year or two and have a few little fruits. But I say if you have only a patio and only pots, try dwarf citrus. Or give your avocado to somebody else. Yes?
I had lots of little avocados this year.
avocados, if you get avocados in your tree and they drop, there's some natural drop, and they call it the June drop sometimes, and then there's a later drop. It can be the root system is just not prepared to support them. It takes a heck of a lot of fruit energy to make all the oil in a big avocado. So you've got to have a healthy root system. And you have to give water. They have to be very healthy to put out a good crop. Yes?
Do you know how to preserve avocados when you get a whole bunch of them?
You have a big party when you get a whole when you have a whole bunch of avocados at once. What do you do besides having a big party? They don't last all that long in the refrigerator. You can refrigerate them for a while. You pick them as slowly as you can get away with it, and I think you probably take the ones that fell to make your season longer. And there's not a whole lot you can do. I think they do some freezing now of avocados. And I have frozen guacamole. There's not much sense in me doing it because I work for food. And so I get a lot of avocados all the time. So I have some avocado guacamole that's been in my freezer for probably a couple, 2-3 years. So I don't have any reason to take it out. And I would have brought it for you to study if I thought of it. Oh, I have 5 more minutes.
Air layer.
Air layer. Avocados don't air layer. Well, we've tried it. We've always failed. Just tried. Never, ever. They bridge. You know, you can cut them, and they'll bridge over. They won't air layer, but they'll bridge over a cut. You just have to graft them. Yeah, yes. Oh, good, okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, his question. What are the little cups for? Avocado wood. My brother made them for me. Avocado wood. Very light, not good for floors, good for little things like this. I love it. Beautiful wood. So if you're into woodworking, wood turning, avocado wood is very, very nice. And I would think for surface, cut out marquetry, I think it would be really nice. I know at my house I've got a bookcase, and it's got all kinds of little leaves in it with persimmon wood. I would think avocado wood would work too. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you first.
For the flowers preference for nighttime temperatures for the type A and type B, is that just specific to B, or is there type A varieties that also type?
Passes A is very good. B, I'm a little careful with, like I said, at the beach, where you have cool nighttime temperatures.
What part of the beach are you at?
Huntington Beach.
Huntington Beach?
Yeah, a long way up the road. Yes.
How long does it take them to bear from seed?
Good question. So you like this avocado, and it's N10, and I hope they release it someday. And you say, oh man, that's a good avocado. I want that one. You plant the seed, you won't get this fruit. It do not come true to seed. For instance, this one is the mother of this one, for sure. Now, who the father was, I don't know. This is mom to this. And I could show you others here where I know the mother and the father. So I'd have to shop around a little bit. So, but if you plant the seed, you might get fruit in 5-6 years. You might never. You might get the most wonderful tree in the world. You might not get fruit for 8 or 10 years. You might never. It's just an unknown. I had another question here.
Yeah, so does holiday, is it a self-pollinated tree, or I need to have more?
I don't know, because it's always been among other trees. So I don't know. But I have 3 of them in my yard. Yes?
Are there different types that makes better food on
If it's cold, Mexican.